as the world marks International Water Day, we look at how countries in Africa are dealing with water scarcity. Namibia lies between two major deserts but has pioneered a way to produce clean drinking water. DW's Dianne Hawker reports.
Communal taps like these are a lifeline in informal settlements like this one in Windhoek. The water that comes out is cheap, and for those on the receiving end, the process seems simple. In truth, it's the product of a high-tech process which many know little about.
I have been living here for the last 20 years, but I don't know where the water comes from. It changes color. Sometimes it is brownish, but I don't know if the water is recycled or not.
Much of what she drinks comes from the Dianne water reclamation plant. Processes domestic sewage to take the water out and make it drinkable. To do this, the plant sends treated wastewater through filtration and chemical treatment processes. Regular tests are conducted in a laboratory to ensure the water meets global standards.
And that laboratory takes samples on a daily basis from different areas in Windhoek and test the water for compliance. They will immediately alert us when there's 1 or 2 samples out of spec, and then we will react and see how serious it is and take action.
The project was the first of its kind in the world and first started decades ago.
In the 60s, Windhoek water resources, was about to run dry, and the municipality of the time decided there's only one solution to that, and that is to reclaim your domestic sewer, treat it to a potable standard, and reuse it.
The current plant has been in operation since 2002 and supplies between 15 and 25% of the town's overall water. It has also served as a model for other countries who've come to the plant to learn more about the process.
And we're very proud of what we're doing here. And therefore I say, cheers, zum Wohl, santé.
Let's take a look at this with Henry Roman, who represents the International Water Management Institute in Southern Africa. He joins us from an event in Sri Lanka. Welcome to DW. So we have this process turning sewage water into drinking water that's sometimes brown. It sounds like a great recycling scheme, but how do you get people past the yuck factor?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Yes, the yuck factor is a very critical one. How Singapore addressed it is they do a similar process, slightly differently, but a similar thing, and they call it new water. It's a marketing spiel, basically, to get past the yuck factor. But there are many ways to do this. One of them, and the same happens in Windhoek, I believe, is you put the water back into the system, the treatment train, at the beginning of the treatment train, to go back to potable, even though the water is of the right quality. So they blend it in with other potable water sources. It is a cultural issue that has to be overcome, unfortunately, and the city of eThekwini in South Africa tested a water reuse system, and their option was they put it back into the dam from which the water is then drawn to be treated, right, even though the water they're putting into the dam's already at the right quality.
I see. So, and I guess the more desperate you are for drinkable water, the more you will tend to quell any particular fears that you have if the reassurances are there.
I have to make the point, though, that when the water comes, the effluent that comes from a wastewater treatment plant, the treatment it's subjected to, that water is of a very high quality. A lot of the time, that water is of a higher quality than the river that receives it. So the treatment cost to potable is not as much in some instances. I wouldn't say in all, but in some.
Right.
And that's an important point that people don't always understand.
And
they just think because it's derived from sewage, it's dirty. Understood.
And you've given us examples from Singapore as well as the African example that we had there. And this technology is widely used, is it?
Not really. It's used in limited cases. In South Africa, it's used in 2 other cities, Beaufort West and Imalasheni. And Imalasheni is an interesting one. They use mine water, and they recycle mine water to potable. There are places in the US that are also using it, and places in Australia that also implement it. But you have direct reuse and indirect reuse. And direct reuse is where you take the effluent, put it through a whole lot of treatment processes, and ensure the quality is drinking water standard before you put it back in the pipe. Right. Indirect, it goes back in the river or the stream, and it comes back through a treatment train back to the pipe, back to the tap.
Okay. Just moving away from that slightly, looking at what's going on in South Africa now. Johannesburg's having a massive problem delivering water to thousands of residents, poor and rich. Just run us through what's happening there and why.
So it's a combination of factors. So I'm sure you're aware South Africa's been having energy problems for the last decade. Now, energy and water are intimately related. And in the case of Johannesburg, the water's pumped 50 kilometers uphill from Randwater to Joburg itself. That requires pumps. When there's no power, there's no pumping. That's one aspect. The other aspect is deteriorating and aging infrastructure, which is not unique to South Africa. It's globally a problem right now, is aging infrastructure, which results in, and I see the image, in pipe bursts, in leaking pipes. So you have a water demand problem, but you also have a problem of the delivery of that water through the system that you have, which is also faulty. So it's not a single problem. It's a multiple of problems that have come to the fore at the same time.
Understood. Thanks for talking us through that. Henry Roman from the International Water Management Institute. Thank you so much.